Just preparing to go live. Setting up. Okay, we are live now.
Hello and good morning. Welcome all viewers on behalf of World Vegan Vision and to our Meet the Author segment. I'm Devashri Parikh. Today we are going to meet the recipient of Henry Spira Grassroots Animal Activist Award winner and the author of today's book, Homo Ahimsa, Judy Carman. We are so thrilled to have her with us today. Along with her, we have our very own Dr. Shainik Shah and Avinash Kachi. Judy Carman is celebrated earth, peace, and animal activist and author of several books like Peace to All Beings, The Missing Piece, and now her latest new book is Homo Ahimsa, who we really are, who we are, how we are going to save the world. And it's a very interesting book. She's very actively involved in animal rescue work. She's currently working on Animals Peace Prayer Flag Project. She conducts vegan spirituality interviews and retreats, very, very busy in the field. She's co-founding Animal Outreach of Kansas, the Circle of Compassion, and Prayer Circle for Animals and Interfaith Vegan Coalition. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here in these rarefied atmosphere with you all. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Welcome. So I was reading your book and while on my vacation last week, and what a coincidence. Walking on the beach, I found unusually large amount of drifted bleached corals. While snorkeling, I love snorkeling, and I was going on my snorkeling trip, and I have done that in the past, and I could see so many corals. And this time everything was gray. 90% coral reefs were gone. Was too disturbed. And I finished my book on the beach, and it was mind-boggling to go through your book and finish the book. Love the title of your book and can't wait to share what is in the book. And I think would love to hear from you. That will be the right perspective. Loved your title, Homo Ahimsa. The word has embedded in my soul since childhood. Growing up in India, in our centuries-old scriptures have always talked about ahimsa, non-violence, no harm to other living beings. And I find it very idealistic and innovative proposition by you. You have made through ahimsa. It's an exceptionally innovative approach of veganism and ahimsa. So I hope that world will attain in someday, maybe in a few centuries, and this fresh approach of yours will go through a lot of our viewers' mind and will be life changer. So Judy, please walk us through your book and what inspired to write this book and how you landed this approach, more importantly. So please share.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I love the word ahimsa. Of course, I didn't know it in childhood. I grew up in Kansas, and my dad was a hunter, and, we ate the standard American diet here. I'd never heard of vegetarians even. So when I learned the word ahimsa, I was mainly studying Gandhi, and he took that vow, and it was a very life-changing concept to me, to think that there were people in the world who not only embraced that idea, but took that vow. And then as I was learning to become vegan, I realized that, boy, this all works together so perfectly. And so in my book, Peace to All Beings, the subtitle of that is Veggie Soup for the Chicken Soul, which is kind of a play on the other soul books. Many of them were about chicken soup for souls, and I felt like I needed to say something about that. But anyway, I coined the term at that time. This was in the early 2000s. And my thinking was Homo sapiens has really messed things up in this world and in general. And even though sapiens means wise, we didn't really show that very well by our actions. And what you're talking about the bleached coral and what's happening to the world everywhere in the environment and to the animals it's heartbreaking. And so to me, thinking the way Buckminster Fuller talks about it, you can't solve problems by using the same techniques that you use to create the problems in the first place. And so I'm thinking, well, let's just be a different species almost, if we're going to solve the problems that Homo sapiens has caused. And then it just made sense. We need to be Homo Ahimsa, not Homo sapiens. And it brought Latin and Sanskrit together, which I really liked that idea. And Silesh Rao kind of picked that up. You all know Silesh, I think. He has the Climate Healers and the Vegan World 2026. His goal is to create a vegan world by 2026. And his thinking is that that's about how much time we have, because we're doing so much destruction so quickly. And it's escalating exponentially with all the technology that we have now, and the huge earth moving things and the drilling and the mining and all of the destruction to the oceans and the land, as you pointed out, really heartbreaking. So I start out my book, Homo Ahimsa. Let me back up a little bit. I came up with the idea of it in my first book, Peace to All Beings, in the early 2000s. And so I was, kind of going off of that and talking to people about that. And of course, talking about veganism and all these other things I've been involved in. And but things kept getting worse. And, as activists, we want to believe that what we're doing is making a difference, is that making things better and creating solutions to all these things. And while we're seeing a lot of that happening, we're also seeing this rush towards extinction of so many animals, and the tremendous desertification that's going on, and all the trees that are being cut down just to grow feed for farmed animals that people are going to eat, which makes no sense. It's so inefficient. And also to graze animals. And this just keeps escalating. And so I thought, I have to write another book and just call it Homo Ahimsa and say, this is who we really are. Let's quit being Homo sapiens and destroying the earth, and let's be who we really are, which is Homo Ahimsa, the kind, loving, nonviolent creature that can heal the earth, heal the damage that Homo sapiens has done. And largely that has to do with changing our mindset, not really so much changing it as awakening to the truth within ourselves, which is to be kind and loving. And so So I start out the book, the part one, there's two parts. One part is, why do we need to do this? Why do we need to become Homo Ahimsa, awaken to our inner nature of truth and love? And the second is how. How are we going to do it? So why is described as why we must rise above Homo sapiens and transcend to our higher nature and our spiritual destiny now, because we're running out of time. And so that part of the book is has some very dark stuff in it as far as what we have done to the earth in the last 10,000 years since animal agriculture started, basically. Animal agriculture, wars, and pandemics all kind of started at the same time. They're all linked together because they all have to do with this dominator mindset that came into humanity's consciousness for whomever, we don't know why, but it did. And then, so part two is how to transcend to our true nature as Homo Ahimsa, let go of the dominator worldview, and live in partnership, reverence, nonviolence, and gratitude with all life. So that's basically the gist of the book. And my goal is to help everyone see that we can do this. We don't have a lot of time, part one, but we can do it, part two, if we recognize who we really are. And I think I've heard a lot of people do this. Ask someone, would you intentionally harm an animal? You very rarely are going to get anyone to say, well, yes. Most people are going to say, no, of course I wouldn't. And yet they're eating meat and they, or eggs and dairy, and they haven't put the two things together. They haven't looked to see how out of alignment their actions are with their true hearts. And so you can say to them, well, you know, you already have vegan values. You already are Homo Ahimsa because you don't want to harm animals. And so that helps awaken that latent lover within us all that does want to be kind, but has grown up in this culture of destruction, really. And is just almost in a way waiting for permission to say, you know what, I don't want to be part of this destructive culture anymore. I want to be partners with the animals, with nature, with the earth, and with all people, and create a kind world, the world we all dream of. And most of us believe, well, couldn't we create that somehow? One of the things I think is so interesting is that almost all religions have some version of the golden rule. And that golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is worded in different ways, but that's basically what it is. Well, how would human beings come up with that all over the world in all the different religions if it weren't our divine heritage, our and our highest goal, our highest belief in who we are and what we can accomplish here on earth? And yet we fall short. And the billions and billions and billions of animals and trillions of fishes who are dying in this world is a testimony to the fact that we have fallen way short of the golden rule, not to mention all that we're doing to nature and the earth. So it's a matter, the good news is that it's a matter of going, oh my goodness, I already am a loving creature. I already have everything I need to create this world. We all do. So let's get together and do it. A big part of that, of course, is imagining what it would be like, because we've got one foot in the Homo sapiens world of domination and the other foot in Homo Ahimsa's world of partnership. And how do we bridge that gap? So I've got all kinds of ideas in the book about that. And one of them is, well, really, I guess some of them, more than just one, are spiritual in nature, because we need to be doing a lot of meditation, a lot of inner healing, a lot of giving ourselves permission to step outside and live this new way and express our true nature. And that is a spiritual calling. And I think anyone who has a dream of a better world, which is, I would say, probably just about everybody, is being drawn by their spirit in that direction and away from the destruction that's going on. So, but it's, that's one of the steps is working on your spiritual, the spiritual aspect of your life and healing within and going within. And then also understanding that by visualizing and imagining this wonderful world that we're creating, which is a vegan world for sure, a nonviolent world, that really makes a difference, because then we have a picture in our minds of where we're heading. And I think that's really important. So I have one chapter where I kind of just make a long list of what it would be like, what this new world would look like. There would not be a world government, that's for sure. It would be much more localized, communities having a voice in everything that's going on in the community. And this drive to have constant economic growth, that would not be going on. And that's interesting to try to imagine how that's going to look. But it's this drive for constant economic growth to keep the stock prices up and all that, that is causing a lot of, well, that's not the only reason, but that's a lot of what's behind all the destruction that's going on. And well, we've got to have more acres in fields for animals and kill more animals in order to get our stock prices to go up. And so all of that has got to change. We have to reimagine how that's going to work. But the thing that I'm keep focusing on in my book, I hope, is that for people to feel empowered, that maybe we don't know how to do that yet, but if we get together and brainstorm and have the end vision in mind, we can get there. So, and be, patient with each other and with ourselves. There's lots and lots of different ideas out there. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen from the grassroots up. We're going to see I believe, a lot of these dominator factions in the world that are trying to create a world government and all of that. We're going to see that declining and losing power, because human beings are rising up and saying, we're going to do this. We know how to do it. We are Homo Ahimsa. And so we have the love that it's going to take to do this. And we're not motivated by profit, we're motivated by love. And that makes all the difference. So, do you want me to read a little bit?
That would be nice. One of your favorite para or a page from the book.
Okay. Let's see, I was looking at.
Very introspective.
Let's see here. Well, I kind of like this one. This is on page 67. Homo Ahimsa is a species in love with all miraculous life. And then I quote someone named Eleonora Deuce. I just love this. She says, if the sight of the blue skies fills you with joy, if a blade of grass springing up in the fields has power to move you, if the simple things in nature have a message you understand, rejoice, for your soul is alive. And I just love that.
Beautiful.
And then I write, our true nature, in a word, is love. Ahimsa living is love in action. We are meant to be love, to be creatures who love and care for all. Some say we had to go through a quasi-adolescent, self-centered, fearful period of development that led to all of our violent ways. Perhaps so, but that time has passed. We cannot remain there any longer if we hope to survive as a species and heal the damage we've done. This is our big chance to become the loving, nonviolent, compassionate, peaceful creatures we have always been destined to be. Vegan living is the golden rule in perfect action. If we truly desire to live a life of nonviolence, loving kindness, reverence, and compassion for all life, that desire leads us, by definition, straight to the Ahimsa life. It is a life-giving way of joy, not a life-taking existence. When we become ethically vegan, we come home to our spiritual and heart essence at last. We become Homo Ahimsa. So that's page 67.
Very well said.
Thanks. But I do want to say that you all have known about Ahimsa a lot longer than I have, and spoken of it, taught about it, and you have really been leading the way for centuries. And I just want to thank you, because you are so far ahead of the Western idea of, hey, let's just own everything and do what we want with it. So you've kept that idea alive, and it's time. It is time.
And I feel personally that it is a time, I think, even though we have followed and known the concept of Ahimsa for centuries, but I feel that, as you said in your book, that we are very oblivious of, when we say we follow Ahimsa, we just thinking that, okay, we're not going to hurt an animal. But we are so oblivious of thinking that by eating dairy unconsciously, we are not following Ahimsa. So I really, really appreciate you bringing out this book and mentioning that we need to have or create awareness that even by eating dairy or not directly hurting animals, we are promoting non-Ahimsa, which is the violence.
Right.
So
yeah, I can remember when I finally figured out, I went from vegetarian to vegan. I was vegetarian for 20 years or so, and then suddenly it hit me what was going on with dairy. And I told my mother, okay, now it's not not just vegetarian. Now I'm going vegan. And she and I explained that I wasn't going to drink milk anymore, eat ice cream with her because she loved ice cream. And she said, no, we have to milk the cows. Otherwise, they would be in pain. Right. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's how I grew up, thinking I was helping the cows. And that's what mom still thinks. And I said, but I've learned something new. I've learned what really happens to those cows. And really all you have to do is think, use logic to think, how are they going to make those cows have so much milk that there's more than their babies need? And why would and then the babies don't even get any of it. And then why would a human being drink cow's milk? And so, but I know it goes way back in your culture as far as the sacredness of the cows. And so that's a whole other block, I'll bet, to veganism.
I feel that the big miss was, I think through our centuries, that we always, the cows are sacred and we always worship cows, but never realized that drinking dairy or having dairy is violating the same thing. So it's good to create this awareness among even, our culture too, which is embedded for centuries. So Dr. Shah, what do you have to say on this?
I think the thing is that in the old days, centuries back, our farming industry was really not the best, and India was very poor. And at that time, our children needed to grow and they needed enough nutrition. And yes, at that time, cow was the main source of healthy food because the farms were literally not doing well. Technology wasn't there and all that. So at that time, we had to respect the cows. And yes, cows did help us survive through all these centuries, but now the things have changed. Now there are hardly any farms where the cows are farming. The tractors have replaced and all that. We have to move on and let go of our fatal attraction for the cows. It's killing them, and it's killing us more than anything else. So it's time now, like Gandhiji also said, that the cow is a symbol of ultimately us touching our own soul and opening up the world of ahimsa for us. So it's time now. I agree. So.
So can you share some of your views, Shining Pai, today?
If you really look at it, the thing is that the Gita was written 2,500 years back. Krishna spoke Gita to Arjuna, and everybody argues in India that, all right, well, Krishna, when he was young, he was consuming curd, yogurt all the time. And so why can't we do the same things? Again, Krishna is so deep-seated in our Hindu mythology and all that, but nobody wants to go beyond that. I have read Gita so deeply. In the 9th chapter, there is a beautiful slok. And the meaning of that is, give me pushpam patram phalam toyam. Give me fruit, give me flower, give me water, and all that. No meat, no dairy products. Now, this is spoken by Krishna when he was in the highest state of delivering Gita. So people don't want to hear that. And there is nobody out there to teach them the right thing either. So they keep on following what they want to do anyway. So a lot of things have to change. And if you really look at it, the farming started 23,000 years back. After the farms were started, before that, man used to live in a jungle, and there was no way he could have been milking a wild cows. He would not survive himself. He would be thrown out. So after the farm started and the farmer did not want to work, he brought the cows, he tamed them. And then the cows started farming the farms and plowing the farms, and on little by little, farmer says, all right, I'm taking it easy. Let the cow do the job. And oh, by the way, cow also gives milk, so let's use the milk. Then came the chickens, then the sheep and the goats and all those things. All that started with farming industry. And yet there was a time in human history, we did not have farms. All the trees were destroyed to create the farms. So there is no reason. Actually, I had read up in Discover magazine, so they actually excavated the skeletons and they found the cavities started after the farming started, because farming created the carbohydrates, because the seeds, which we thought were easy to grow, were the wheat and the rice, and it's all carbohydrate. That's digested by the bacteria that produces the acid, the lactic acid, and ultimately damages the staphylococcal bacteria and causes the cavities. But if you look at the skeletons before 23,000, before the farming, there were no cavities. So we can survive without that. So farming was a destruction. Whoever invented the farms was the worst mistake of life. And so again, so if you really, people want to go back to their gods, which was written in 25, that's nothing. 2,500 years is nothing. Talk about 23,000. What the nature was created. We created Krishna. We created Hinduism. We created Jainism. We created Christianity. Those are our creations, but we existed. Who created us? The consciousness, which was always there, created all the animals, and we were one of those. So we need to respect at that level. But that goes a deeper thinking. And like Judy said, meditation is a beautiful, beautiful path that takes us deep down at the existential level. There is no difference between me and the earthworm, between me and the ant. Why won't I do the same thing? When the existence created them, who am I to take away their existence? So it's a beautiful passage of a journey that a world has to go through. It's painful, but that's how the beautiful joys come out of it. So Judy has been doing a wonderful job, and we all are in the same boat, and it's really feel great to be part of it.
Avinash, do you
Yes,
share your thoughts on the book you read?
Judy said that, she is thankful to us for being aware of Ahimsa from a longer time and all that. But I feel that I don't see much advantage of being an Indian or being raised in India and being actually formally taught about Ahimsa from early school years. Every year there was a lesson about Ahimsa or Gandhi or something like that in the textbooks. Ahimsa in India, is also misinterpreted because of the freedom movement as non-violence against only human beings, because Gandhi wanted to fight the British without raising arms. So that is also an interpretation of Ahimsa, that not fighting or not causing violence against other human beings. Animals are almost totally ignored. And I found out Ahimsa and veganism at a much later age in my life, from last 3-4 years. But so, and that is a result of being very focused on Ahimsa against fellow human beings, not towards animals. We never realized that what's going on in the dairy. And just like animal agriculture lobbies are governing our diet here, religion and the mass brainwashing also controls the diet of Indians. And India is the largest producer of the dairy, largest consumer of the dairy, and largest exporter of beef, because they cannot kill cows, they export them. Exporter of beef in the world. So where is Ahimsa in India? The originator of the term and the current holder of the franchise. That is my biggest frustration.
Yeah, but that's what it is. I think most of us are like very oblivious. We don't know. We have not never introspected that what are our practices versus what are
the reason there is a big part of the religious cults in keeping us blindfolded too. And they harp on these 2,500-year-old traditions and our agriculture and our traditions, cultures, and everything, and our religion. And the worst thing is that the cow is considered a holy animal. So you cannot hurt a cow, but you can just leave it to fend for itself once it is of no use to you. And that's why India is a country where stray cows are clogging up the roads. No other country has that much problem with the stray cows.
Well, then those cows are lined up
starving.
for slaughtering or something, right? In other countries.
Yeah, they are starving. If it was like some other country, the cows will be sent to the slaughterhouse and that will be the end of it. But in India, we cannot legally kill a cow. So we just let it fend for itself and eat trash and plastic bags. That is what is happening. So
I've read
Yeah,
about that.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
yeah, so that is the
the,
real
the,
situation. And the cults, religious cults, they are consistently brainwashing people and promising. They are just invoking scriptures and saying that if you light a lamp made with a ghee, your sins will be all washed out on a certain day of the year. And
Or the sacrifices that we have for yagnas and
yeah,
things that we do, we have to pour the ghee or
everything from symbolic sacrifices and offerings to God made from dairy to real sacrifices of animals. Like in Nepal, there is a festival where tens of thousands of animals were killed uh, just for sacrifice on a day. And now it has
yeah.
come down to a few thousand. It's from the 10, because people have become aware. In South India, there is a festival called Jallikattu, where bulls are tortured and made to run around. So it's hard to imagine that Indians can do this and still claim the origin of Ahimsa.
I think it is not Indians. I think it is more related to the religious belief, and I think Hinduism preach about ahimsa. That is how I would relate to how you.
So I was leading to a question to Judy, that Judy is also has created a coalition of religious bodies, and they
Right.
are trying to make religious places vegan. And so I would request you to tell us about the progress of that, or how it works, and what we can do, because some of our donors and some of our members are on governing bodies of Indian temples. And what we find is that they are being stonewalled by the managements of those temples whenever we mention ahimsa or going vegan. So we would like to see what you have to tell us about that.
Thanks, Avinash. Yeah, it's called the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, and we started it about 3 or 4 years ago. Lisa Levinson and Thomas Jackson and I started it. And our idea was to wake the sleeping giant of religion, all different religions, and to see that we cannot go on like we are. And that a lot of religions, as you pointed out, including Hinduism, are promoting animal cruelty, but covering it up and making it seem like somehow it's okay and it benefits the people, so therefore it's all right, which is part of that dominator paradigm that we've been in since agriculture started. And so our what we've done is we've created kits, activist kits. And if you go on the website, you can see those kits. And there's a couple of different Hindu kits there that have, and lots of others. There's some Christian ones, and there's Buddhist and Zoroastrian. Anyway, quite a few. And it basically gives the person who, let's say it's a vegan person, goes to our website, they're Hindu, and they want to bring the vegan message to wherever their place of worship is. And so then in this kit, they'll find all kinds of quotes that support veganism from respected leaders, and films that they could show, books that they could recommend, have a book club or something and read, all kinds of different things, and ideas of if you can't get your spiritual leader to go vegan or talk about veganism, then form a little group within your place of worship. And then that little group could gradually bring more and more information in. Maybe even, if nothing else, bring in some brochures and lay them out where people could pick them up and read them and find out more. And then the idea also of having occasionally, if not every time, vegan potlucks, vegan meals there at the place of worship, instead of a big spread full of, other, well, in that case, dairy. And so that's one thing we're doing. We're meeting once a month with a planning committee. And one of the things we did recently is we created, I think, 8 or 9 different little 2-minute videos and submitted them to the Golden Rule Day, which takes place, I believe, on April 5th. And it's 24 hours, and it goes around the world. So everyone in the world can tune in and see, a few clips from the Golden Rule Day, or maybe even watch all of it. And of course, as you all mentioned, a lot of times people think of the Golden Rule as just applying to people. But so we thought it was really important to have some vegan voices in there. And so we've got, I think, like I said, 8 little videos that are going to be on that event. So, and we've also been involved with the Association for Global New Thought, and not all those people are vegan by any means either, but lots of ministers and people like that in that group. And they have actually, we kind of made friends with one of the people there who has a little bit of control over what goes on their website. And they took some stuff that we wrote about veganism and posted it on their website as part of the Season for Nonviolence that we're in right now. And so we're trying to make connections with these spiritual entities, whether it's a specific church or temple or broader religion, or whether it's like a multi-faith group, and get that vegan message in there. So we're trying different ways to do that. And of course, just like reaching all the doctors is important for health, we're trying to reach the leaders. And of course, many times that's going to be through the grassroots, some of the members who are going to contact us and say, how do I do this? But through that, we can get some connections with some of the leaders. And the more, it's like a domino effect, the more leaders that say, what, that does make sense, because that is in alignment with our highest values. So yeah, let's talk about that and get their people thinking about it. And I know there's a group of vegan Janes now that are working really hard, and we've talked to them quite a bit, and working really hard to convince other Janes to why they should eliminate dairy and why that is not ahimsa based. And so those are the things we're doing. We also have a film. I don't know if you all have seen A Prayer for Compassion, the film by Thomas Jackson.
Yes, actually, we had a screening of that and at a local library 2 years ago.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. So that's one of our main tools, really. And we're trying to get as many people around the world to see that film. And of course, right now it's being seen online, whereas before we were showing it, in lots of different venues at churches and various places, and getting really good results. We showed it at Unity Convention, which is the Unity religion that's based in Kansas City. They have a convention of their ministers every year. Well, they did until this last year, but so I was there a couple of years in a row with a table and all the information on our table about the Interfaith Vegan Coalition and how we could help them veganize their churches, or at least make them vegan friendly. And our point about the vegan friendly was, think about some of your members who are vegan, and you may be talking about animals in a disrespectful way, and you may lose those members if you don't see the connection between kindness to animals and people as being the same thing, coming from the same heart, the same spirit. And so we were able to reach a lot of ministers, I think, with that message of, okay, I understand you don't want to go vegan yourself, but think about the vegans in your congregation. And when you have a potluck and it's loaded down, the table's loaded down with meat and dairy, your vegan members are not going to want to come to that. And they may be so saddened by that they may not come back. And so I think they're calling it universal meals. Vegan meals are universal meals because anyone can eat them. And whereas meat, not everybody can eat that. And so if you kind of call it that universal meal, anyone can eat it, then you're really being inclusive. And so we were able to get some of those ideas across. And now, of course, with everything pretty much on Zoom, we find we're actually reaching even more people because having a physical conference, as you all know, is a lot more involved, and you work really hard, and then it all happens on that weekend. Now it's like we're doing it every day, seems like. So I think in a way, in a strange sort of way, this whole COVID thing is creating an opening for a huge rising in human consciousness. And the amount of information that's coming out on Zoom is just phenomenal. So yeah, and this is one of those, and I really appreciate you all.
No, we really thank you for joining us today and sharing your passionate spirits and giving us some innovative approach to this whole problem that we all face every single day, and we worry about it and we face it, the change in the environment. Dr. Shainik Shah, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I mean, I really appreciate she's being in the forefront, and a concept of ahimsa, which has been kind of relegated down to the ground, really, which is one of the very lofty principle invented by our rishis. They really went down further with introspection and came to a conclusion that we are all connected. And like Judy was saying, that unless you put that principles in action, it loses its value. Then it becomes a name in the book, something you worship by, and that's it. And then you can do whatever you want to do anyway. So we all have to be actors of the ahimsa. It's a manifestation of your inner self. So I think we all are going in the right direction. Judy in a very big way, so she can guide us into a lot more avenues which we can take. Yeah, absolutely.
I also must thank you, our Nitin Vyas, for introducing you to us, to our organization. Judy, I think he passed on words, and we are very fortunate to find you through him. I definitely thank you, Dr. Shah and Avinash Bhai, today for joining here and being part of our very thought-provoking discussion and looking at different point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Devarshi, for handling the conference
thank you
very
so
well.
much, Devarshi.
Very nicely done.
Actually, let us talk about the book. If anybody wants a signed copy of the books, they can directly get it from the author by contacting her through the website. So let me share that page 1 second.
Thank you, Avinash.
And so here is the book, and the website, the peacetoallbeings.com, is at the bottom. And anybody who wishes to purchase the book with Judy's signature can go directly there, besides Amazon and other outlets. You won't get the signature from Amazon.
Right.
You'll get it only if you go to the website.
Yeah. And I would love to hear from anyone. Yeah, there's a contact me button on the website, and you can just do that and tell me you'd like a book. And
Yeah, it's again
Send it to me.
www.peacetoallbeing.com.
right.
Wonderful.
Correct. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that, Avinash. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and about the book itself, I'm a latecomer to the veganism game, and I'm trying to read as much as I can. And I'm very much impressed by Peter Singer, who has clarified things, clarified everything in a very sensible and practical way. And on the other hand, there are books written by activists like Peter Young, who have done things in a very practical way to prevent animal abuse. And Judy's book is a third or a different concept altogether. It's a thing about what should we do and how things should look in the future. So it's a sort of like a science fiction book compared to a novel or a memoir, if you can take that allegory. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a book about hope that we
Yes.
really can
Yes, it's a
resolve
positive.
problems. Yeah.
Yes, it has a positive outlook.
I really wanted to be a part of empowering people to believe
Yes.
that, don't get discouraged. There's a lot of bad news out there, but we can turn this around. And we have what it takes. We have the love in our hearts to do this. And we just have to believe that we have the power to do it. And so I think that's the main reason I wrote the book. Things look bad, but hey, we can do this.
There is the
So
hope.
let's get together. Yeah.
Wish you all the best for the book and many more to come, actually.
Thank you so much.
We'll look
Thanks.
forward to
Thank
that.
you, Judy.
Thank you.
Thank you all. It's been wonderful being here.